Shalom, Israel, giving all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakah Kadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles, elders, great millstone, my salutation to the brothers, teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be elect, most high will, to the hopeful extended elect, Shalom. This is a P.S.A. from Apostle Tahar. Channel is, what is the 666 Mark II, GMS Truth. It says you must set up a Rumble and an Odysee account. And, he goes into a famine of the word, so, and basically that's what they're doing. They're going to start, well, he goes into more than that, but it's leading to the famine of the word, and they're flagging down videos. He mentioned a brother's account that, can no longer go on YouTube. They suspended, well, they threw out his whole account, like, even if he make another email. So, these are the next steps. Rumble and Odysee. And go to Odysee.com and then make an account. And I want to get that scripture. It's in Amos. And you could remember. You should remember that these are prophecies. This is prophecy coming to pass. Like, as prophecies unfold, people act like, oh, well, we didn't know that. Now we know. No, it's prophecies being fulfilled. So what you can understand that the prophets are not just saying these things. They're actually happening. What is that? Yeah, it says Amos 8:11. It says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, power, God in all caps, that I will send a famine in the land. Yahweh's going to send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, even though we're going to have those kind of famines in different places. The Most High said his servants shall eat. So for his servants, for his true men, that doesn't apply. We are going to go through some atrocities and sufferings. But Most High is going to still continue to work miracles and make things happen for his elect men. It says, not of water nor bread, but of hearing the words of the Lord in all caps. So how do you hear the word of the Lord? Through the prophets, and they're taking the prophets off of YouTube, TikTok. Pretty much they're going to, make a law. That's probably going to be one of the part of the draconian laws to not speak against the government, to not, truth says they're going to twist it and give it a different term, but that they will be banned, maybe banned from the U.S. or even banned from teaching. And it's often in scripture, often in history, that they didn't want us to say those names, speak those names, even in the ancient world. They didn't want those names to be spoken of. Yahweh Shai. They even had Yahweh Shai's name on the news. In the news, if you remember. So, they making key points and targeting key things to close out the hopeful elect. Also, what I was going to say, the domestic terrorism thing and truth says and all that, and it says we're going to be persecuted. Here's another scripture, kind of to comfort us in these perilous times. These are perils. These are the bad times, the evil times. It says Romans 8:35, who shall separate us from the love of Yahweh Shai, the agony called Jesus Christ? Shall tribulation or distress, and this is where Christians, so-called Christians, face real opposition, to where they're going to find out that Jesus doesn't work, and they're going to find out Like all this time, they're going to talk about, well, pray, get right with Jesus, but they wasn't saying that at first. I mean, they do, have a so-called form of godliness to where you would think they were spreading a message, but nah, not according to prophecy, not according to preparing for times like these. Now everybody's caught off guard. Now everybody's like, "What? I was living a good life, and I didn't never read about this." You know, when they talk about suffering, it's just lightly talked about and it's lightly accepted, but not hardcore sufferings and famines and perils, like it says right here, shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine. I got that word famine, or nakedness or peril or sword. So a lot of people think they get spoon fed the truth, lay back, eat a sandwich, eat some cereal, open a window and hear the prophets. That ain't how it works. You're supposed to seek the Most High be times. You're supposed to, seek Him while may be found. You know, so this is not a bedtime story and it's not a fairy tale story. It's not a children's book. Even though we're the children of Israel, this is a real serious series of events according to what's written in this book, the Bible, and according to prophecy. So it's like, even imprisonments and all that. So, they might give jail time for truth sayers to to you know saying if you go out there and you speak against the government, you speak then you possible jail time, possible fines. It used to be uh, illegal to burn the flag. I think they put that into law, if I'm not mistaken, that it's illegal to burn the United States flag now, when it didn't used to be. So those type of things leading ultimately to what we know as the MOTB, the CHIP, um, which uh, those that speak against the CHIP or the government agenda will be called terrorists, domestic terrorists. Sometimes they might even arrest you and just let you go, just to see what you do, or just to know that you're going to get caught up in more type of situations of hell, famine, and nakedness. They you know what I'm saying, to make you feel like it ain't so bad. They do things partial and partiality. So they'll let some brothers go. Some brothers are good teaching, and some others not. And I think this is a gateway for them to target GMS because that's their main focus, I believe. And even with vocab, you know, Malone, that he's doing the work of the devil, but he's doing what he's supposed to do. Being an enemy to the Israelites, enemy to GMS. I think you know, um, as far as his theologian studies and his so-called, I guess, maybe Christian background. I don't know if theologians really have a specific religion or a specific claim of religion that they follow. But in any case, the elements of morale, so-called morale from these so-called Christians, these anti-Christians, really, they have no concern about prophecy, and they have no concern, and they really don't know what's going on according to what's really written in this book in code. So, they're not going to tell you is, they're not going to be concerned about the prophets being taken off of YouTube, off TikTok. They're going to be like, oh, those are those crazy guys. Good for them. And that's just what happened to the prophets. You got to be a mad psychological. I mean, what do you call it? Mad cycle. On the bad side. You know, to not consider these things, man. And I used to use God logic, but there's a somebody that's calling himself God logic. I don't use it no more. But I used to say that. It's like people come out and they'll ruin everything. They'll turn the light to dark. They'll turn the day to night. They'll turn, you know, the words of strict sayings, the words of what do you call it? Words of I can't think of the word, but what's how it's supposed to be read in the Bible and how it's supposed to be understood. They're gonna take it like, well, yeah, because if you we read that scripture earlier, woe to them go down to Egypt. So if there's a famine and there's persecution, distress, nakedness, and peril, and sword, and it's coming from a certain people, a certain elite body, and they run the government, well, how can you ask help from the government? How can you go to help and ask them for freedom and rights and say this is not fair? They don't care if anything's fair. They don't care who they have a depopulation agenda, depopulation method, Project Megiddo. It's written in the movies. It's written in the books. He's of death. He's the harbinger of death, like it says in the Planet of Apes. So they don't care, and they don't care about a famine in the land. They got food underground, and guess who's gonna be going? Ain't gonna be our people. They got military set up in front of those domains, those regional areas. Definitely. If you try to break in one of those places, you're getting shot down. You know, um, and you is martial law. So let me get this last scripture. No, that's not it. I looked it up right here. It says Isaiah 24:11. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened, and the mirth of the land is gone. Yeah, and that wine is this knowledge. The wisdom of the saints, the wisdom of the Most High that He put in this about His Spirit in the saints. They're gonna be seeking for that wine, and even when that big hoax with the Christian thing in South Africa, I think it was, and they was waiting for the rapture and it didn't come. They were all confused and they cried out, saying, "I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go next. I'm gonna try another religion." Imagine the churches being shut down and people understanding that the churches are a fraud, that they're false prophets inside the churches, wolves in sheep's clothing, and then they were like, "What's the next step?" Well, dang, and then you have things like this. Pertaining to what confusion that we don't know where to go, and then even in the physical sense of a famine, maybe like, well, where do we get bread from? The government has the food, the trucks are getting empty. So they're gonna, what they're doing right now? They with the SNAP benefits, they're going in the stores and they just taking the food. And the police might even let them the government might even let them. You had a saying of Trump that he says when you see looters, shoot them on sight. So that still might apply, but they still be like, okay, we got a bigger agenda. We got a bigger, order out of chaos. We got a bigger, um, you know, uh, we got bigger laws to set in place to where you know they're gonna understand. We're gonna make them understand. So it also says seek the Lord while He is near. It says seek when He come to the serve the Lord. Seek Him be times even 7 to 10 times more. I forget how it's worded, but seek Him you know, that much to where, hey, don't expect the prophets to come to you. You find the prophets. You have some men that have come to the prophet saying, man, I searched for y'all all day. I've been on TikTok, YouTube. Y'all not there. I came on the highways and byways. I didn't, and you know, and then they finally catch up with them. But it's the time is getting short. It's being cut short. Most High say he's shorting the time for the elect sake. It's being cut short. So who knows how long the prophet is going to be out there? Who knows how long this word is going to be available, even on the unicorn, TikTok, YouTube, any other platforms. But like I said, going back to what the apostle said, yeah, make a Rumble account, make a what do you call it, Odysee account, and for backup, and and even to do, regular videos in there. But that's definitely a backup for if they take your YouTube channel, because they're actually getting a hold of the IP address, and to where you can't, even if you made another address, email address, it will still, you know, it will still be found to where that account is no longer existing, or it's been terminated, and they're gonna start doing that with other things too. Anyway, and they got the new ID thing. They got it's a reset. They're gonna start. You're gonna have to renew everything according to your citizenship in America, according to your freedom and your rights, sort of so called. You're gonna have to renew everything. They're gonna have to get to America is trying to get. She gonna get to know you all over again as a person, a new groomed person that has come to realization that, hey, there's an elite body of men that rule the world. There's a system going on that you have to abide by, and these are the rules. These are the regulations. And if you don't comply, then these stipulations, these consequences will apply. And that's what they're slowly doing. They're gradually making it, and then they doing a race card thing at the same time to make it, still people still believe in America. Like, well, these Negroes are the problem, and that's what they did back then. Time of Rome, Nero blamed the Jews, blamed the Israelites. It's happening now, and indirectly and somewhat directly, Trump is doing that. He's blaming Negroes. He's blaming Latinos, Native Americans as the problem of this new world order trying to be rebuilt. But anyway, hopefully it's edifying. To the next video. Shalom.